All right, we're getting started with the Power Hour for today. Today I wanted to talk about and roll out the marketing program, the Lux Marketing program, which Amy and I have been working on for a while now to design the postcards for it and get the first part of it up, which would be the mail marketing program. The second part would be trying to align some support for Facebook marketing and stuff like that if agents don't want to do that on their own, but also do some more training on how to do Facebook marketing. So does anybody understand why everyone in this business really should develop a marketing program and a plan and work that plan? Does everybody understand why they would want to do that?
Yeah.
Or what are the reasons?
To build your business off of what you've already done. I mean, try to get everything out of it you can.
Visibility.
Yeah. Right. Making sure that you stay in front of your customers.
Right.
As often as possible.
Right. Your customers and also building new customers.
Potential.
Where does a majority of your business come from right now, guys? Tony, John?
Mine is really
All over the
mostly
place?
All over the place. I got polls and all sorts of ones.
Yeah. Does it feel predictable?
In some instances, yes. In others, it seems completely random.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's mostly just fear of influence.
Influence,
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of. Well, I've done ads, but then I didn't follow up on them.
Correct.
Right? Would you?
I like to post the other day, just because you walk away, I'm not stuck using it.
Right. Right, exactly. Would you say that it would be beneficial to create a marketing program that could give you an expected return on investment? Sure. Yeah, that's exactly what we want to do as agents. Because otherwise you really, there's a lot of agents that are very successful and some of them are, a lot of their business is referrals. The problem with a referral-only business is it's a roller coaster. You can't say this year I want to make 100,000 and I know I'm going to get it from my referral tree. You may not. You may get more. You may get less. Who knows at what time of years it's going to come. How do you plan for that? How do you deal with it? And to me, it's a stressful way to go about your business, is not knowing that you have a plan in place that will provide a proven result. And there's honestly, for a lot of the agents that have been in this business a while, one of the major goals is to transition a highly buyer side business into at least a balance, if not more listings than buyers. And as we all know, listings are elusive. They're not easy to find. I mean, referrals are one thing, but if you're not looking at referrals, it's hard to find listings. The other part of it is that most referral-based businesses are all over the place. You might have a listing in Worcester and a listing in Dudley. It's not doing very much to build you a brand within a community that can get you the kind of staying power that we've all seen with some agents. We've seen it with agents that are sometimes even horrible to deal with, horrible to their clients, horrible to the world, yet they have enough listings that when people think about selling, they think, well, this guy seems to have a lot of listings in town, or this girl seems to sell a lot of listings in town, so that must be the person we need to go with, even though people are telling us they're difficult to deal with. So it's hard to get there, but it's also hard to lose. But if you're, if you're professional and a good agent, then once you get it and you get there, it's a pretty strong business you've built. So we're going to talk today about marketing in general and the marketing program that we've rolled out, in particular the postcards. Postcards.
I have a webinar.
Oh, got someone else on there? So first thing we're going to go through is the mail marketing program, and Amy is going to do a lot of the. Let me see who we got on here that I can mute. Somebody on here that's
Measure my bed.
Needs to be muted.
And then go to Home Depot.
Mute. There we go. Somebody's secretly following our meeting here. We got an iPhone on here that who knows who that is. But all right. So So the mail marketing program, our goal with it is, the hard part for agents is you're busy, you're out there selling, it's just hard to set time aside and actually follow a marketing plan that will put you in the homes that you want to be in on a consistent basis. Whatever we create for you, you can do whatever you want. You want to do a just listed postcard or just sold postcard and never mail that neighborhood or that group again, that's fine, but I highly suggest you create a plan that has a touch every month within the same group of households. So if you can, based on the numbers we provide you, if you can do 200 a month or 400 a month, whatever you decide. Again, it doesn't mean you shouldn't also do just listed, just solds on your listings, but you should develop a marketing area where you're going to get saturation. If you see, if a group of 200 people see your mug only once, what are the chances of really getting any kind of impact or name remembrance to those people? If they're ready to do something right then, you may get a call. It's better than nothing. But I personally, I think if they see you every month, then that's the better route to go, even if it's a smaller group to start with. And what you could do is, if you got a listing in a neighborhood that you actually want to work and would like to get more listings in it, do the just listed postcards to similar size homes. And then next month, if you've sold it, it becomes a just sold. The month after that, if you don't have a listing or a sale in that neighborhood, find a similar one to the one you sold that sold quickly and send a postcard to them saying, hey, another one of your neighbors sold their home. And we've created the card for that so that you have the ability to get into the same group of homes every single month, even if you don't have a just listed or just sold that month in that neighborhood. So we'll take a look at each of the postcards and we'll explain what we're going to do with them and how we're going to develop the list. Because my goal with it was many of you have done Prospects Plus, and it is better than nothing, but I don't think their cards are great. And they're pretty small for the price that you pay for them. And it's typically just the 100 closest homes. What we're going to offer through this is a more segmented list. Instead of mailing to the 100 closest homes of a just listed, I think it's a better attempt is to mail to 150 homes that are of similar size that have not sold in the last 10 years. Because the 100 closest neighbors, that might be the oddball in the neighborhood. You might not even be reaching a seller that's similar. You really want someone to look at the postcard and say, I'm thinking about selling and I've got a similar size house, and wow, this house just listed or this house just sold. You're going to pay more attention to it. If you got a colonial or a ranch sold just down the street, are you really paying much attention to it? Probably not as much. One of the other things we did is we reversed the cards. Some of them are vertical. So if you ever think of from a psychological standpoint, if everything is the normal way, you're probably going to scan it quick and throw it away faster than if you have to go like this and take a look at what that card has on it. There's been studies that prove that it'll get a longer second glance, and sometimes the first card, second card, third card, fourth card, they're just going to be literally like, but they see that face and then they throw away, and then maybe they're just like, why do I keep getting postcards? Your third or fourth are probably when people are going to start to pay more attention to it, unless they're ready. You happen to run across somebody that's just ready that time and thinking, I need to find an agent, and all of a sudden, Tony, your postcard shows up. Oh, wow. The heavens answered my question. So, but you want to do it based on a more predictable outcome. And the more predictable outcome is to get in front of these people consistently so that you can start to build name brand recognition with a group that you want to focus on. So if you went to 200 homes that haven't sold in the last 10 years that are similar size, and you do it every month, there's a chance. There's a lot better chance that you're going to get something from that. So let's take a look at the postcards we've created. So what's going to happen is you're going to, either with our help or whatever you want to develop, we can help you with the suggestions on what to do and where you want to do it. But if you have a plan, is to work with Amy to modify your postcards and create your postcards from the templates we have. And then if you can either develop your own list or we can develop the list for you, which I'm going to go with Amy, how we use MLS. We can use MLS public records to basically create a very specific list, whether it's an upsize postcard and you're going to mail to homes that are 1,000 to 1,500 square feet that have 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, because if someone's upsizing, great, you'd love to have them as a seller client and a buyer client, but if they've got an 800 square foot house that's got 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, it's kind of a hard sell. So at least if you're going to prospect, go to a list that's a smaller home that somebody might be getting stressed out about, but it's still a fairly sellable home. Ideally 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, and owned for more than 4 years and less than 10 years. That's that window where they say everybody moves every 7 to 10 years. If you bought your first home, 5 years ago, and you've had a couple kids, and you're still in that 1,000 square foot house, I don't care what you tell me, you're feeling the stress. So our postcards are developed to try to intrigue that interest and get those potential clients getting the right postcard in their hands. And that's what our moving up postcard looks like. I'm going to show you.
So which one of these Dudley guys is going to hit my mailbox first, or am I going to hit their mailbox first?
I don't know. That's going to be interesting.
I already got one in the mail, just I think
Yeah.
yesterday or the day before.
My calendar.
Oh, did you?
I got Tony's.
Football schedule.
This is the moving up postcard that we have. Are you feeling cramped? Now is the best time to upgrade. And that's the front of the postcard. The back of the postcard is this one right here. It's and we can change up some of the wording too if you like it. This will all be kind of modifiable. Have you been in your current home much longer than you ever wanted to be? Do you feel like your family has outgrown your home and you just can't take it anymore? Is it next to impossible to find a quiet space in your home on those rainy days when everyone is at home? Some of our happiest clients are those who have upsized their home and downsized their stress. The first step is making this kind of life change is to meet with a home transition professional like me to talk about your goals and create a plan to get you to your goal. Don't worry, a proper plan will never leave you homeless. Call or give me a text for information. So again, we can change that up, but we try to make it so that it intrigues their interest. I mean, the big thing with a lot of sellers these days are, I don't even know where I'm going to move. Why would I put my house in the market? So I've tried to use the postcard to, if they do read it, say, hey, don't worry about that right yet. Let's just talk about your goals, because the biggest thing is just getting your foot in the door. Maybe they don't do it right away, or maybe they start, as we know, anybody that's worked with someone buying and selling, it's really a personal plan. Like, what are you comfortable with? Do we really need to shop first? Should we just take the leap of faith, put your house in the market? How do you want to go about this? Do you have a temporary place to move? They don't know those answers yet. So a lot of times they're just kind of wondering. But if you can get in front of them, then you can have a conversation about it. So that's the moving up postcard. And again, what we would do is create a list of homes that are smaller that haven't been sold in the last 5 to 10 years, and that have a likelihood of being that kind of candidate. If you did a list of 200 of those every month, and maybe one month is the upsize postcard, and the next month to the same group is a just sold that's looks like their price range, their size, a 1,200 square foot house, sold quickly, and we'll go through those other postcards too. But that would be the first postcard in the series.
Are the pictures on the cards set the way they are? Or so we can customize them.
Yes. So here's another one of the postcards. Another home sold in your neighborhood. So if you didn't sell a property in the neighborhood and you want business in that neighborhood, or if you, like you said, you're going after this list of 200 upsized buyers, then you want to find a similar sold in that town that was in that range, and we can put it into the postcard. again, we're not saying we were the selling agent, but we are telling them about this sale. So the home at 123 Main Street just sold for $10,000 over list price in 9 days for $250,000. We have a lot of buyers still looking for a home like yours in your neighborhood. So if you're thinking about selling, give me a call. If we sell your home before it hits MLS, you save money on commissions. That's one of those hooks that we want to use to try to get them to call us back. Everybody wants to try to save money. Let's face it. That's just the way, it's what people want. So again, if you sell it off MLS, it doesn't mean you're taking 4. You could be reducing your commission from 6 to 5. Say, hey, I found the buyer direct. I'm going to cut you a break instead of the 6 normal commission because I don't have to do all the marketing. Then it's 5. But it's just a hook. It's not we're giving away money. It's not we're a discount brokerage. It's just a hook to try to get them to call you. And again, if you have a domain, we'll replace this with your domain for driving people to your home value page on Sync. And if you don't, it's just your tracy.luxgrouphome/home value, or you basically go to that page and we'll go to that page for you and find out what your link is and put it in there. I recommend if you're going to do these postcards towards trying to get listings that you buy some kind of domain on GoDaddy that's sell related, whether it's Tony Sells, you have
Tony the real
estate guy.com. The only thing I would say that's just going to land them on your website. It's good to probably have a domain that lands them right where they want to go.
Well, no, it brings it to the.
It brings them to the home value page.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. Okay.
And you can redirect off of GoDaddy to wherever you want to.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were just landing
Right.
it on Tony.LuxGroupHomes or the sell page.
Well, now you got me wondering. I don't know.
Let's find out. What is it? It's
Go
Tony,
somewhere.
Tony, the real estate guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's just bringing them there. If you were a seller and you really just want to get your home value, so you really want to go around this page looking for your home value page, I wouldn't. I'd be like, I'm bored already.
Right.
I don't need to search for homes. I need my home valuation. So I'd recommend you probably get a domain that's home value related. That way, when you buy that domain, you can just forward it to Tony.LuxGroupHomes/home
Well, I
value.
can just change it, right? So it forwards it to that particular.
You could, if you
right?
wanted to land on this particular page, just change the forwarding to this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, because if you're, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not changing
If you
it.
land them here, there's a quick search button right there.
Right.
If you're more focused on trying to get listings, then I would probably land your current domain there.
Gotcha.
So just go to your domain, go to the home value page and take this link and put it into GoDaddy
Right.
for the forwarding. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
don't make people do any more work than they have to. If you're trying to get them from a postcard to your website, to your home value page, you don't want to leave it up to them to try to figure out where to go. So let's go back to the postcards. So that was the that was a home just sold. So that's a neighborhood sale that's not necessarily one of your own. The next one is a bunch of neighborhood sales. This one would be good because you could use this one in multiple times. So if you use this one and you found multiple sales in the town that you were sold fast for great prices and very little days in the market, we could use 4 comps, and it would help basically. In most people's eyes, they're not going to know the difference between whether you sold them or not. You're just reporting recent solds in the neighborhood. They're probably going to think, wow, this guy's selling a lot of properties, or this girl's selling a lot of properties if they see a postcard with all these sold. So basically it just says, your neighbors are selling their homes quickly, oftentimes over asking and on their terms. When you sell with the Lux Group, you won't be left homeless. We will make sure you are able to locate your next home, or you don't have to sell. Let's make you our next happy seller. If we sell your home before it hits the market, you save money on commissions. Call me or go to my website to find out more and get your instant home value. So again, it's another card that's basically saying, hey, don't worry about all the details yet. Don't worry about how difficult it's going to be to find your next home. Let's just start chatting. So it's meant to try to get them to respond. Make sense? Shut that out. The next one is the downsizing postcard. So if you think you want to work with downsizing clients, people that have owned a house for, the type of list we would create for this out of MLS would be homes that are over 1,800 square feet or 2,000 square feet, depending on the town, that have been owned for more than 10 years or more than 12 years, depending on how many you want to do. If you say I want to do 500, I'd probably say more than 10 years. If you're like, oh, I want to develop the best list possible and do 200, then I'd probably say over 15 years. They've been owned over 15 years. And probably less than 25. I mean, you could do 15 and over. That would include your baby boomers, your kids that are in college, and your people that are, maybe inheriting homes at some point. But if you're looking to go to the baby boomers who have this big house, the kids moved on to college, they're living in this big old house, and maybe not necessarily old, but big, and they're feeling it. They're feeling the pain of all the bills and why do we have all the space? We don't need it. Those are the type of clients that this card would go after. So basically, the card says downsizing has its advantages. Downsize your home, upsize your life. That is the front of the card. The back of the card basically says, have you thought about how much easier and better your life would be if you downsized your home? Have your kids moved on and you wonder what to do with all the unused space? Do the heating bills in the winter make you cringe? Some of our happiest clients are those who have downsized their home and upsized their life. The first step is making this kind of life change is to meet with a downsizing professional and like me to talk about your goals and create a plan to help you reach your goals, even if that plan doesn't go into effect for a year or two. A lot of these type of clients, especially that generation, they do a lot of thinking before they act. So again, it's getting your foot in the door. If they're thinking it's next year, next spring, and they just need to feel the pain of one more winter of heating bills, then you better start talking to them now. Because if it's not you they're talking to, it's someone else they're talking to, and they just make decisions slower. So that's why the card is meant to say, hey, I'm not looking for the quick listing. I'm not. Right. Hey, obviously, I'm not looking to pressure you. Let's just start talking about it. And that's the goal of the card. Is again take their barriers down. Say, all right, it's okay to call Tony. He's not going to pressure me into listing. So that's the downsizing postcard. Then we have a home value postcard, which is just basically if you want to do a broadcast mailer. Hey, we're selling homes over asking in weeks in the market. You may be shocked what your home is worth. Cash in on the equity before it's too late. Get your instant home value by going to. This would be a good card if you were going to do basically an EDDM postcard, which is every door direct mail. The difference being we can do bulk mail for about 26 cents a postcard, the 5.5 by 8.5, which is basically this size. That's the kind of postcard we can do. In the mailing on that is about 26 cents with our bulk mail stamp. The EDM gets down to like 18 cents a household, but you have to hit every household in a postal route. So you would go, if you ever wanted to check it out for a neighborhood that you're thinking about marketing, go to just Google every door direct mail, and the USPS website will come up. You can go to their mapping tool, and you can put in a town, and it will bring up a map. And as you scroll your mouse over the map, it'll highlight different routes and how many homes are in that route. You have to mail to every home in that route, and there's no choice. You can't pick and choose. So if you get up to the point where, my opinion is, if you get up to the point where you can do more than 1,000 to 2,000 a month in mailers, then I would start to think about EDM, because you're just going to be broadcasting an entire market, and with everything, you're not targeting. You're just blasting the whole world within that postal route or the town if you can afford to do the whole town. But you could also do this postcard to sellers, in a certain area that haven't sold their home in a certain amount of time. You could use this. We could create this postcard for you, so you could take a screenshot of it and just use it on Facebook for Facebook advertising. But that's basically the home value card. All right, the next one, any questions on any of that? The next one is the newly listed card. So if you want to do a newly listed card, something you just listed, we have a newly listed card, just like the just listed cards you would do through Prospects Plus. And again, if you're going to do it, we would create a list of, you know, instead of being the 100 closest homes like Prospects Plus does, we would do a targeted list of homes that are similar to that haven't sold in the last 3 to 10 years that might have a chance of coming back.
How you generate those?
Through MLS, and I'll show you how you can generate them too, just so you guys know in case you want to develop your own lists. But MLS is great for it, and we could what we're basically going to do is we're going to create the list, or you're going to create the list, and we're going to send it to the printer so that they can print out the postcards correctly. This one is just sold. So Tracy Barber just sold another home in your neighborhood. So if you did sell a property, then instead of doing a neighborhood sold, you do your just sold. So we have those cards ready to go as well. We have another option for the just sold. So if you sold the property and it took 100 days and you sold it for 90% of the list price, you probably don't want to highlight days on market and stuff. But if you sold it fast, we've got the secondary card, breaks it down to list price, and sold in 21 days. So that's the just listed, just sold. And on the list, just listed, just sold cards, the back of it would be your MLS description, unless you want to give us another description. So that would be the back of the card. And then the last one, oh, we did go over that one. That's the feeling cramped in your home. So the rest of the backs, I think we covered a couple of the backs. We did the downsized back that we have, the upsized back that we have. This one is the home value one. If you're thinking about selling, give me a call. You may be shocked what buyers would pay for your home right now. A lot of buyers are just waiting for the next home to hit the market so they can pounce on it. There's even a great chance we could sell your home before it even hits the market, which would also save you money on commissions. There has been no better time to sell than now. The first step is to go to your website and fill out the valuation request, or simply call, text, or email me so we can set up a time to meet and chat about your home and your goals. If you're also buying your next home, we will create a plan to sell your home on your terms so you are not left homeless. There are plenty of buyers out there willing to wait for you to find your next home. With low inventory, you are in the driver's seat, and with a hard negotiator like me on your side, you will always be in great hands. Give me a call or text to chat. And then the last one is, this is the blanket just listed, just sold card that would have the description from MLS on it. If you're doing a just sold, you could do the MLS description, or you could do the back, which is the, hey, if you're thinking about selling, give me a call. You have the choice which one you want to do. I would say if it's a just listed, you're doing the MLS description. You're trying to drum up interest in the property. If you're doing just sold on one of your listings or a neighborhood, you'd probably do the, hey, thinking about selling, give me a call. So it just depends on which card you're using and where you're sending it. So, so basically, the postcard program, we will work with you to modify the cards, make them your own. We're just going to need your picture, and it's either a picture with a background on it, or if you want to just be ghosted with nothing in the background, then we need a
Silhouetted.
Yeah, silhouetted. We need a PNG file. So whoever did your pictures, if you got a PNG file, we can use that. High quality image, hopefully. I don't know what size, but as high quality as possible so that it doesn't get grainy on the postcards. You'll just basically work through Amy and say, hey, I want to start a postcard campaign. This is what I'd like to do. We can help you create the lists. You determine what your budget is and our pricing based on modifying the cards, ordering the printing, having the printing come to the office, and us bulk mailing them and taking them down to the post office and dealing with that is for 100 to 250 postcards, it's 75 cents a piece, which is, I think, about the same price as postcards plus. Maybe a little bit cheaper, but again, they're better quality cards and a more targeted list. 250 to 500 goes down to 70 cents. 500 to 1,000, 60 cents. 1,000 to 2,000, 50 cents, and then 2,000 plus 45 cents.
Now, where you said you've got these created, but you're saying that we should reach out, or do this mailing once we pick out our area once a month. So do you have phase 2 and 3 and 4 and so on, or are you going to create that as you go?
Well, what we'll do is if you say, hey, I want to start a mailing campaign, if you need help deciding what that should mean, let me know. We'll talk through it and create a plan, and then Amy will set it up so that if we get the first mailer out, we've got in the schedule, or she's got a scheduled reminder to say, all right, the next one needs to go out 9/1, and to touch base with you. We'll create a plan and say this is what we want to do. This is the neighborhood we want to target. This is the price range we want to target.
Yeah, but I mean the new card. You know what I mean? Do you have a new design for the next one, and the third one, and the fourth one?
No, we're going to use these. I mean, we probably will come up with more designs in the future, but
customize them too, Tom.
But right now, yeah. So if you got some ideas on some more customization, let me know. But literally, if you just create a 12-month plan and said, all right, this month I don't have any listings, so I'm going to do I want to focus on upsize sellers. I'm going to do an upsize postcard to 200 people, and then next month I didn't get a listing in that range, but I'm going to do a neighborhood sold postcard because a house did sell in that price range and that size and sold fast. So you do adjust a sold neighborhood, and let's say then you do get a listing. So now you do a just listed in that one, the third month. And maybe it didn't sell in the fourth month, but you want to do a home value card. You can do that one to that same group. And then another sold. Even if you didn't get any listings and over 6 months you sent them another home sold in that price range, people would think like, all right, I am thinking about upsizing, and Tony's got to be the expert because he appears to be selling all these properties that are in my price range of my size home. So you're reiterating the message you're trying to send to the same group.
I see what you're saying.
So yes, we probably will develop more cards to go along with this, maybe. But these are really the best ones. If you think about what does a seller want? What does someone that's thinking about selling want to know? How much money I could get for my house? Who seems to be the go-to people in town to sell property or sell my type of property? And when I'm ready to do something, who's top of mind awareness? And if it's one card, you probably aren't going to. I mean, occasionally you'll hear, I shouldn't say this, but old people that say, "Yeah, I kept your card in my drawer for 2 years." I don't do that. I just toss everything. Like if it's, you know what I mean. And if I continually see somebody, then we had a meeting up in Westford and we talked about it. And I mean, how many of you get postcards in your mail from agents? Do you get them consistently? From anyone? Does any one of them send them consistently?
There's one agent in town who's consistent.
And you know who that is because they're consistent in doing it.
But
Yes, we're in the business and we're more cognizant of who's an agent sending stuff to our house, but sellers aren't much different, or your typical owner isn't much different. If they've seen your name every month for 6 months or 12 months, do you think they're not going to remember your name? They probably are. At least they're going to remember your face. So that the other thing you want to do is, like, let's say they just keep throwing your cards away, but you're in their head, but you're not really in their head. They don't remember your name. They may remember your face, but they might be thinking about selling and saying, God, I wish who's that agent that's been sending us stuff every month? And then you don't do that mailer next month, and they can't put they throw them all away. They can't put they know you were there. They're like, oh yeah, we keep getting these mailers from this guy, but they can't remember your name. But if you send the next one, they're like, oh yeah, oh great, he sent us another one. We need to call this guy. That's why you don't want to take a risk and just say,
If you have a sign in somewhere, you should probably be mailing that area. Like my sign in Leicester, I stopped by this guy's antique shop because I have another seller in Westminster, the car guy, just to see if he'd be interested in going by to look at his cars and buy a car. So he said he would give me some. So if I sold his cars,
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Oh," he's like, I gave him my card, and he's like, "Oh, I seen this somewhere." I was like, "Probably my sign on the street." You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like it's in it. He's seen it. He knows he saw it. So if it's just constantly in front of him,
That's why also a good marketing plan just doesn't end at mail. If you're picking a town and you want to focus on a town or a price range in town, you should also be running Facebook ads so that they're seeing you in more than one medium. If you started to really get saturation to an area and you had a listing or two with signs up on the streets and you had the mailers going out, and you're also targeting Facebook ads within that town, you're starting to be seen in multiple areas.
Right.
So that, your marketing plan, you don't want to go wide. You want to go narrow with whatever you decide to for a marketing program. But it shouldn't include just mail. It should include both mail and hitting that group on Facebook too. It doesn't mean you're not taking business anywhere you can get it, but it just means you're focusing your mail marketing in a certain area. Or even if you're doing Realtor.com or Zillow leads, you're better off doing those in the same area you're also doing your mailings in. If you own a zip code for Realtor.com or Zillow and you're doing mailers in there and you're on Facebook, there might be a better chance that when you get that lead from Zillow or Realtor.com, that if they've seen you in their mailbox for some reason or seen you on Facebook, they might be more willing to take that call from you versus someone else. And that's where the being seen in multiple ways is the best way. The other thing I'd maybe recommend is if you're developing this program and you do want to hit up the neighbors around a listing, is instead of wasting the mailers on them, develop the mailing list like we talked about to the similar homes that may be thinking about selling their similar home soon. Do the mailings to that group, but then order extra postcards, an extra 50 or an extra 100 that Amy would just give you, and then walk around that neighborhood of that listing and just post them out. We'll probably get some pricing for some door hangers too, so they could take it and put it on a door hanger. But you'd be better off walking around the neighborhood, just hand them out saying, "Hey, I got a listing down the street. If you know anybody, want to pick your neighbors, let me know. We're looking to sell it." That's a good way to take the next step with your listings if you want to do a double approached step.
Have any of you ever done door hangers? It's a fun thing to do.
Yeah,
I've done them in Auburn.
I've done it at fire jobs, so
And
that's why
they're really.
you don't like it. Yeah.
I used to do it when I worked in the construction.
Personally, I would
That was
never
a lot
do
of
it
my-
either. It's a matter of
With the Bible in your hand. It's really
Yeah.
hard to do.
I used
That's
to,
a lot of.
yeah.
some people have
A lot of
had
people don't like
success
that.
with.
I used to do it at my other job, but we'd go to the job in the morning and walk out the job, and then after I was done walking out, I go up the street this way and up the street that way, putting up on
if I did,
Right.
I'd probably
Every
do it
once
with
in a while,
my
I get chased
just
off the
so
property by
it's
an old
not
lady.
face.
Right.
Then it would definitely be your go.
I've done it in teams. I did it in teams. I used to do it with Stacy Hamill, who's now with the RA.
Mhm.
She and I used to do it. It was easier that way.
Yeah.
But you get the little old lady that's screaming, "Oh, yeah, what are you doing?" And then you
Right.
get the other people. It's really hard. Really hard.
Yeah. Just depends on how aggressive you want to be. At the end of the day, there's two ways, unless it's, even referrals, it takes effort too. But you're either getting a business one of two ways: by your time or your money. Really, if you can get to start to put your money towards it, you don't have to ever cold call or put yourself out there like extremely uncomfortably. You're mailing, you got people incoming. It's incoming business. It's not cold calling expires and for sale by owners, which, everybody under the sun is trained to at some of these companies, and they're difficult. If you don't have a thick skin and can just take a bunch of abusive calls to get that one, then that's a difficult way to build a business. So marketing is a predictable way to do it. It just, you have to understand the game. And that's the other part I wanted to talk a little bit about today. And after I quickly just go over MLS, I did want to show you where you develop these lists from MLS. So in MLS, under the Tools button, Public Records, you can develop your marketing list pretty easily. So let's say I want to do Auburn, and I want to develop a upsize list. People that are thinking about upsizing. So when I think about that group, I'm looking for people that have owned for more than 4 years and less than 10. So 10 years ago would have been 07, let's say 08, 01, 2008 through 08, 01, and we want to go back, so we said 4 years, so that'd be 2014. Let's make it 2013. So they've owned for more than 5, less than 10. That's the last sale date, so we're putting in that. And I only want single families, so I'm going to click on single families. And then I want a living area range, so I'm going to do living area range. I want to sell properties that are between 1,000 and 1,500 square feet. And I also want number of bedrooms, 3 plus. I'm not going to put number of baths in there. Let's just see what we come up with for a list based on this. There's 247. Those properties haven't been sold between 5 and 10 years ago. They're 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, 3 bedrooms. I would probably, some of these were, they say last sale price 0. That's probably like a family transfer. If you wanted to cut out the, the family transfers, that may be like a, it depends. There could be some sellers in there. There was a family transfer. It's, it could have been husband, wife, one died. Who knows? It could have been just a husband bought it and now married and just deeding it over to him and the wife. But you can decide whether you want to cut those out or leave those in. And that's your list, 250 properties. So that would be a pretty good list to go after. If you wanted to do downsizing, you'd probably change that and say, I want this to go from up to 20 years. So 20 years would be 1998 was the last sale price through, I'm going to say 10 years ago, through 2008. So 1998 through 2008. So they bought between 20 years ago and 10 years ago. And I'm going to change this to 2,000 plus square feet. And we got a list of 292 properties that have not sold, that's last sold in that window 10 to 20 years ago, that are more than 2,000 square feet in Auburn. So that's another good list. So that's kind of pretty much how we're developing lists. If you were going after a neighborhood,
Is this like your downsizing list?
this would be your downsizing list. Yep.
The other one was
Upsizing. Yeah.
How will you print those out?
labels.
Yeah. So and so you have to check all. If there's ones you don't want, you can drop them out, uncheck them. Otherwise, you just do download, and we need a CSV file, basically.
Oh,
So
for you guys, because when I'm
yeah.
down here, I just hit the label button.
Yeah, if you're going to label them yourself, then
If when you do the download, does it do current resident as well?
You could make it say current resident.
yeah, or our printer won't need that. If we just say this is the list, current resident, then boom. If we're doing bulk mail to get the 26 cents, it has to say current resident on it. So otherwise, you're talking 45 cents a piece. So there's no sense in it being anything other than current resident. So they're just using the addresses and printing it all right on the postcard, so they're just ready to go. So we'll get the postcards from them with our bulk mail imprint number on it and the current resident.
Say more current resident.
Oh, so you're not going to print labels, they're gonna come with the.
They're gonna come
address
on.
already printed on.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
So it's just going to be ready to go, and then we'll drop them off at the post office. So we have to take them down to over by St. Vincent's and go to the back door to the bulk mail department and drop them off.
That lady was not nice to me.
She's a pain in the ass, but
She wanted me to make sure that everybody knew that the form had to be filled out, it has to be sorted.
yeah, they don't want to do any work. That's why they're giving you the break. They're basically like, if you're going to get the discount, then we don't want to do
Because
shit.
I didn't know when I went.
Yeah, that's
She's like,
That's why if you know, and if Amy gets used to handling it, she'll be happy down there too, because she'll just know that everybody's getting
Coming in all-
well, I rang the
Yeah.
buzzer, which is by the garage door. And she's like, you didn't open the door when I buzzed it. I was like, well, I had to walk around the door.
right. Right, exactly. The only other thing I wanted to just talk about today was expectations when you're doing any kind of online marketing, mail marketing. Everybody I ever have listened to recently, I've done a lot of talking to top producers, my coach, watching webinars like that Lisa Chinati, who are running big businesses based on marketing. And it's all very predictable. You just have to trust what you're doing and know that sometimes your results aren't going to show up right away. That's the hardest part of all, is the money you spend today might not come back to you for a year. We just had a conversion lead. It was a lead we bought through Facebook ads, a year and 15 months ago?
Yeah.
She's been getting daily alerts. I don't know how many emails she's gotten from us. You know, she's been on drip campaigns. She's been on the email alerts. She's just been sitting in there. And she just requested a showing this week, 15 months later. So,
I just got one that's been on for like 2 years. I don't even know who the hell she is or where she came
And she
from.
requested a
It's
showing?
just like, you want to what? You want to look at something?
Yeah, and that's-
Who are you? Yeah.
and that's what marketing does. You know, your referral tree is in essence kind of the same way, but you can't predict, just like you can't predict them, you can't predict when they're going to come. You just know that if you're doing the right steps, the result will come
Eventually.
and it's just a matter of what your conversion rate is. If you're buying leads and you're doing nothing with them, Tony,
Tony.
then you probably shouldn't expect anything from them. I mean, will somebody eventually maybe fall out? Sure, but you're not going to hit the 3 to 5% conversion rate if you're not. You might get 1 or less than 1% conversion rate if you're literally just not doing much to them. Even with like 5 Street leads or Zillow leads or any of those kind of lead sources, if you're proactively doing things like proactively trying to call them, you know, more than once, putting them on drip campaigns, putting them on a listing alert, even though they may not have asked for one, and letting them unsubscribe if they don't want it. If you're not doing those kind of checklist items to make sure that, you know, in between your attempts to call them, they're also seeing your face, then you're not going to see the type of results that you really want. I mean, everybody should be shooting for a 5% return on a conversion rate. You're never going to see anything more than that. So what does that mean? So that means 1 out of every 20. If you're 5%, it's 1 out of 20 leads. That's the kind of result you should expect. That would be from that would be from the type of lead like a Zillow or a Realtor.com or a sign call or a mailer that returns a callback for a home value or any of those type of leads.
So then you got to figure out what are you going to do to generate 20 leads?
Right, and you have to realize that if you've spent that money, let's say, okay, let's talk about the different types of lead sources. So 5 Street, which is Realtor.com and Zillow, I priced them all out. We're currently doing Realtor.com, not Zillow, but eventually I want to get into Zillow too. But I talked to a lot of people that do Zillow. Neil in the Westford office does Zillow. And for unshared leads, which is what you really want, we tried the shared leads for a while, but literally Realtor.com, I think, was selling them to everybody under the sun, and they would say only 4. I don't necessarily believe that, especially when yesterday Nadine talked to somebody from 5th Street who was also getting a call from Up City.
Right.
And said, oh, Up City's a pain in the ass, because literally you're never going to call them as much as Up City's going to. Up City's got people that are sitting there in Texas that could care less if these people hate their guts. They
Are
literally.
you sure they're not in Webster? Because they're in Webster according to my phone.
Oh, Up City, yeah.
Webster or Douglas is
Yeah.
where my calls from too, yeah.
But these leads
Anytime they can't sell a lead, they turn around and try to call you.
are going to cost you $40 to $60 per lead. So if you're in the 40 range, 20 leads, that's $800. $800 to $1,000 per closing. Facebook, Google, those you can get in the $10 to $20 range. But you're going to need more leads. You're probably going to need 30 to 40 leads.
You still need the 800 to 1,000 for them, right?
Yes. So they're longer term, meaning if someone clicks on Facebook and clicks on your either whether it's a home value or a boost or anything like that, and they register, they're typically not as ready as someone who's been on Zillow.com and is requesting information on a property. It's a different action. It's a different breed of lead. They take a lot longer to work. Yes, they are cheaper, and you get more leads, but they do take longer to work, and you probably would need 30 to 40 of those before you're going to see a closing. So at the end of the day, anybody I've talked to that's doing this at a high level, it's still in the $600 to $800 range to buy a closing, but it requires more work from you because they're not, Real.com is Zillow, they want information on property. If you're good, you can get them on the phone fast, ASAP. Say, all right, when do you want to see the property? Great, I'll see you there at 2 on Friday, even before you've confirmed it. You just confirmed the booking with them. You get it. You've got them booked. And even if you had to change it because it wasn't available that time, you've got them hooked. You get them out there and show them property. If someone registers on Facebook or through Google and they're getting listing alerts from you, they may not be answering you, just like that lead that's been in conversion for a year and a half. But they're seeing your name and face every day, and you're continuing to work them and hoping that someday they'll turn to something. And they will, and a little bit cheaper. You just have to be committed to the long-term game of that, and you have to consistently log into Facebook. And if you're spending money to get those kind of leads, the other thing they're good for is your name brand recognition. So there is a double benefit, especially if you're running in a certain area. Zillow, Real.com, they're not really giving you a lot of brand recognition for your brand. Facebook is a much better avenue for that, but you have to understand that they're a longer-term prospect. So a lot of big agents that are closing a ton of business, or teams that are just producing like Lisa Chinati's at $5 million gross commissions in a year, they're doing a mix of it all. They're getting some Zillow, some Real.com, mail, Facebook, and they understand the rhythms of each. If you get a bunch of Facebook leads, you just have to know that stick them on a drip campaign, make sure they're getting listing alerts, and watch your sync system every day to see who's most active. If you had 100 Facebook leads in there that you booked for about $10 a piece, and you just watch them every day, you'll see certain rhythms of their activity. You'll see someone go dark for a while, all of a sudden, boom, 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 they're looking at everything. They're looking at property 4 times. If you see somebody that looked at a property 4 times, I would give them a call and say, hey, did you notice the property at 123 Main Street? It just came on the market. Obviously, you know that they looked at it, but they don't know that you know that. So you're just making that call to try to make sure you're the agent when they decide to do something. And they may not call you back at the time, but they know I'm seeing Tony, and Tony is calling me. So when I am ready, you might be that person. But you got to log into Sync, and you got to make sure that you're working those leads. The same thing with Real.com and Zillow leads. We have them automatically feeding into Sync, and you can too if you are paying for Zillow or Real.com. And if you have them automatically feeding into Sync, then you can set them up with drip alerts and drip campaigns. So even you're maximizing the potential of your success. Because if someone's got 20 calls from Real.com, they might just be like, you know, yeah, I wanted to see that property, but this is annoying me and I didn't like it that much, so I'm not going to return any of these 20 annoying calls, but all of a sudden they're getting a drip campaign from you every day instead of somebody else, then there's a chance you might turn it over. Mail marketing, it's actually works out to be the same, but again, it's a little longer than your Facebook, than your 5 Street and your Zillow leads. They say for every $800 to $1,000, you should produce 1 listing sale. But if you're doing one-hit wonders, mailing 200 just listed postcards and they're never seeing your face again, you're probably not gonna. You may or may not see those level of results. If a group of 1,000 people are seeing your face consistently every month, you're going to get sales out of it. But you know, you have to figure out what you can commit to. The plan you really need to figure out is what can I afford and what am I going to do with that. And then from there, when I start closing more sales, how can I scale it to be at the point where I want it to be? If you literally wanted to build an awesome business, if you said, you know, all right, this is basically, they're all in the same range. It's going to cost me $600 to $1,000 to produce a closing. And if my average sale produces a $5,000 gross commission, and I wanted to ensure that I was going to make $100,000 gross in a year, just based on my marketing alone, that would be 20 sales. And we said that it's going to cost us between $600 and $1,000. If I went at 700, figuring, you know what, if I get some listings, I can probably get some spin-off business from it too. So I don't necessarily need to go to the 1,000, but I think I can get it done for 700 and just work the leads really hard. That's 14,000, which is about 14% of your gross. They say every big producer, coach, anywhere will say that your 10 to 15% of your gross income should always go back towards your marketing. So that fits right in that window. That's $14,000. That's roughly $1,200 a month.
At what point do you need an assistant to manage that?
It depends. I mean, I think if you're using the mail marketing program through the office and you have a plan in place and you just have a plan for consistently, you know, on certain days running your Facebook ads and your mail marketing programs running, and then every day you're logging in the sync and working your leads, you probably don't, for that level, you don't probably need an assistant. If you're getting to the point where you're making 150 to 200, you definitely need an assistant.
At the very least, a transaction.
Right. So you want to, and these numbers are scalable. If you wanted to close $5 million like Lisa Chinati in gross commissions, $5 million. If you averaged 5,000, that's per sale. That's 1,000 sales times. She's spending probably about 700 per closing because they've got an inside sales agent that's grinding these leads all day long. I think they have 2 or 3, but that's 70,000. No, that's 700,000. 700,000, and which is I'm sure she's spending about 70,000 per month. It's a lot of money, but
but to make 5 million.
But 5 million. So I've done the math on her, and she's probably making about 25%. So she's netting a cool $1 million. So she's spending $700 to $1 million on marketing. Her overheads and her agent fees are another, and team members making money is another $2 million, and she's netting a cool $1 million. And that's a lot of money to spend. It would make me nervous every month spending that kind of money. But if she indicated she was doing 80,000 mailers a month. She's spending around $20,000 a month with Zillow and Facebook marketing, everything else, and she's looking at just expanding in markets. Now she's got the power. She's got the money behind her. Now she's basically bringing on team members and taking over markets and basically saying, all right, I'm going to take over this town. I'm going to do it's 10,000 homes. I'm going to do 10,000 mailers. I'm going to do the Facebook ads. I'm going to buy all the Zillow areas so that if anybody's on Zillow, anybody's on Facebook, anybody see me in the mail, they all know who I am. And it works. It produces a result. You just, like I don't know who I was talking to you this about. The hard part is when you're starting out, if you're only spending, let's say, you're only getting 20 leads a month. And we said that you need 20 leads to produce one closing. It's such a small amount that you're doing. You're never going to be guaranteed that one sale from those first 20, and you're never going to be guaranteed it's going to come within the first year either. So your first 20 leads bought, you may get nothing. And next month you may get 2, or you may get nothing the second month, but the third month you might get 3. The numbers still average out to 1 in 20. It's just you haven't been around long enough to see the numbers work. That's why they always say if you're going to do any kind of marketing, it's minimum 6 months, but you really need to run it for a year to see what the results are. You just have to have faith that the numbers will work, that your plan is solid, and you just need to figure out what you can budget and say, I can do this. And then figure out, where do you want to really take your business, and how much are you really willing to pay the price now for the success later? For instance, Lisa in that webinar said the first 2 or 3 years, from 2013 to, and she's probably even doing it now, she was putting 50% of every check back into marketing. Every check she got, 50% right back into the marketing. And even now, even though most big agents, it's 10 to 15% of their gross is marketing, she might be doing 25 to 30% because she wants to get to 7 million. I personally, I don't know, I'd be happy with just 1 million, but hey, if your goal is 2 million, or maybe your goals aren't really the money, maybe it's the power, it's the market.
First you get the money, then you get the power.
Right, exactly.
Then
Leave the last line out of it. Come on, Tony.
Right. But even when you get down the road and you think of okay, what if I was to scale this and bring on team members? Because certainly I can't close all this business myself if I'm already going to scale this up. The numbers still work. You have to manage it. And if you ever wonder why teams are so critical about how the leads are being worked and how that goes and why the fees are what they are, is you can just do the math. So if a $5,000 gross check comes in to the team, and the team leader is getting, a lot of them are getting 40% off the top. So it's 40,000. 40%, that would be 2,000. And then they've got an inside sales agent. They're paying. They've got other staff. And right away off the top, they have to plan on that lead. Those leads cost them 1,000. Maybe they only cost them 800. Maybe they're really good at lead conversion. But if they're not so great on lead conversion, I'd be planning worst case scenario. Like, hey, I hope to hit $700 per closing on my cost to acquire a piece of business via marketing. But if it's bad, if our conversion rate's bad, I got to plan at being 1,000. So at the most, she's making 1,000. She's probably planning on making 800 per sale.
But you have to let all this marketing run out before you can figure out that.
Right.
So you have to take the risk of going 6 months.
It's like if you watch her webinar, she's like, oh, my team members, they call 3 times. Every lead, they call 3 times right away. Voicemail, hang up, call right back. Voicemail, hang up, call right back. Voicemail, call right back. And usually by the 4th time, they're like, but you get them on the phone.
Up City calls their leads, 35 times per lead?
Yeah.
Something at minimum?
Yeah.
So you're competing with that at the very least.
Right. And that's the reason team leaders are so on top of how are these leads being worked? Because if you're really terrible, you may not be making any money on the leads purchase. But if she's netting $800 per sale and she's closing 1,000 leads, that's $800,000. That's probably worst case scenario. So worst case scenario, she's making $800,000 off putting $70,000 a month at risk in marketing. And best case scenario, she's making $1 million, $1.2 million.
Company I worked at before I got into real estate had a dialer for their CRM.
Yeah.
So you legit just hit a button
There is a dialer through Sync.
and just sit and wait. and it would call, and when it picked up, there was a company that would talk to them first. So then you would get on the line. But it would legit just call, just hit the button, it would just call everybody. And then then the
I
afternoon.
don't know if you guys can see online, but
It's actually reverse, Tracy.
is it reversed online?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I'd probably call.
I'll put all these numbers on paper and send it out to everybody after when I send out the recording. But so it is predictable. These are the numbers. These are the numbers I hear from every top agent who's focusing on marketing. Again, you don't start predicting your results for the first 6 months. It's a graduating point, and it's hard to ever put an exact pinpoint on it because you just don't know. The only other way that I find is a good way of predicting what my lead spend is going to bring for income is a pipeline sheet. Any of you guys use a pipeline? I'll share this with anybody who wants me to share it with them. But basically, a pipeline is I'll just show you just quickly towards the top. But basically, a pipeline is a system of entering in leads you have that are more than just names. So people register on Sync, and I wouldn't really call them even a prospective piece of business. They're just a lead. A prospective piece of business to me is someone that you've at least talked to or had an email conversation with. So if you're moving them from prospective down here to active listings to under agreements and closed, I don't want to show you too much of that, but basically you're getting a predictable result. So basically, in my spreadsheet, if you enter in a piece of prospective business, you get a 10% score on it. So if you talk to somebody today and they're like, yeah, no, I'm thinking about buying a house for $200,000 in Worcester, set me up on a drip campaign, great, let's hope to get out. I'd call that a prospective piece of business. You have a 10% chance of closing that, meaning if you put 10 people in that pipeline like her, you should close at least one of them. And the numbers are meant to be conservative, but at least you're starting to account a potential earning from a prospective piece of business. Active, somebody that's out there looking, somebody that's an active listing. If you're good at selling listings, you'd probably give the listings a better score than 20%, but anybody else that's active goes in at 20%. That means for every 5 buyers you're out there showing homes, either consistently or inconsistently, you should close at least 2. Not 2. Every 5, 1. So 20%. If you're better than that, great, but you don't want to count on that. You want to count on the fact that some shit's not going to happen. So even once it goes under agreement, you're not counting all that income yet. Those only get a score on the pipeline sheet of 75%, meaning the reality is 1 out of 4 is going to fall apart. If you end up closing all 4, boom, you just made more money than you thought you were going to make. But at least in the pipeline sheet, it basically all adds down to the bottom to the point where it just kind of shows you, I don't have anybody that's not active. It basically, it'll take it all the way down to the bottom, and it'll show you your closed, under agreements, active, prospective, and what your total potential income earnings would be. If you're not on track with where you want to be, then you got some work to do on filling your pipeline. And I like to look at it every day because it reminds me to follow up with the people that are in prospective and active. Like I'll be starting to look at these and say, oh, you know what, I haven't talked to Kathy in a while. I need to give her a call. I haven't talked to Steve Glassman in a while. I need to give him a call this week. It's reminding me about people that I want to keep a focus on so that I can try to move them from prospective up into active, again, because it gives them a different score once they turn active. And if you start to do this, you'll start to say, all right, I spent this money on marketing, and even though I don't have a closing yet, I've got 5 prospectives and 5 actives. So if the results happen per these percentages, 10% for prospective, 20% for active, then I know I've got $20,000 in income coming from the ad spend that I've already spent. So it is a good way to gauge, hey, yeah, I've spent money, but it doesn't necessarily feel like I'm getting a return on it yet, but the law of averages here will show me that there is a potential income there from what I've gotten from my lead sources. So if you're not putting that on paper somewhere, in my opinion, in a spreadsheet that calculates that out for you, then you're really aren't measuring your lead spend and conversion rates the way you should. If anybody wants me to share that with them, this sheet with them, I'll share it with them because it's a good thing. I look at it every day, and if my income goals are not showing right at the bottom, then I've got to find more people to get into that spreadsheet. I got to do more ads, get more perspective. I've got to work my sync to get them out of sync and into the spreadsheet. Because again, sync is just a bunch of leads. Who comes out of that as a prospective or active buyer or seller, that's what you really need to focus on. It's getting them, running your ads to get calls coming in, to get leads registered on your website, to get them from there into a pipeline sheet for prospective and active, and then getting them under agreement and closed, and that's your job.
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions before we wrap up for the day? So again, if you're interested in getting started on this program, or if you just aren't ready to go that in depth with a marketing program and you just do want to do your just listed and just sold, we'll be pretty much ready to go. What would you say, Monday? I mean, we got to get you.
Oh yeah, easy Monday.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just a matter of I couldn't get my Dropbox to open for him to just transfer the files to me.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Marriott Curry, and she's going to do samples for us
Okay.
in each one.
We'll have some hand samples so you can put your hands on them and feel them and touch them. But if you have a just listed, just sold, or a postcard campaign you want to start, just email Amy at Lux Group Homes MA. Is that right?
Lux Group MA.
LuxGroupMA@gmail.com.
I get plenty of emails from that person. I don't know who she is.
Oh yeah. So that's about it. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're about to get another one this morning.
Oh, God. What did I miss now?
Your mold disclosure that you submitted for the acknowledgement. No.
For which one? Horn?
Yes.
That's my parents. If I need to get, if I can't use